Toxic positivity can erode our mental, emotional, and physical health. When we feel forced to be happy, even when we're exhausted, sad, or crumbling inside, the short and long-term toll can be devastating. In a world where perfectly curated images constantly tell us that we should be happy, upbeat, and smiling despite life's natural ups and downs, it's important for us to be able to embrace all of our feelings, as imperfect as they may be. Today, we'll focus on this listener's real life question. Everyone in my life seems to have it all together. It's depressing to constantly see and hear about my friends' perfectly happy lives, even if I realize I don't know the full story. It's not that I want my friends to be unhappy, but I'm tired of the toxic positivity and its effect on me. I feel worse all the time. Do you have any advice? And with that question as the focus of today's episode, I'm Dr. Carla Manly, and this is Imperfect Love.
Welcome to Imperfect Love with Dr. Carla Manly, psychologist, author, and relationship expert. I'm here to help unravel mysteries and misconceptions about love, relationships, and mental health issues, plus everything in between. Love is complicated, people are not perfect, and relationships surely can be tough. Together, we'll navigate this messy, imperfect space of real life.
As a joy and fear expert, I strive to normalize all of our emotions. I work from the 5 emotion paradigm, and this paradigm simply states that we have 5 core emotions: anger, fear, sadness, joy, and disgust. And when we look at these emotions that come from our gut, that arise organically to give us a message about how we're feeling and what we need to do, it's so important for us to realize that they are all good. They are all normal. They are all healthy. Then, when we look at feelings, we have thousands of feelings, if only 5 emotions. And feelings help us come to really learn from our experience. So, for each emotion that we feel, that emotion comes from the gut, then goes up to the brain. We get a life experience that tells us how to interpret that particular emotion based on our history, based upon experience, and outcome thousands of feelings. That is why we each have a different response often to a certain stimulus. You might see lemons and say, "Oh my goodness, that makes me feel joyful." And I remember my grandmother giving me lemonade and I felt happy and upbeat and alive. Somebody else may look at lemons and feel disgusted or angry or sad because they may have had an experience where somebody shoved lemons in their face or threw lemons at them when they were bullied as a child. And the feelings that will come up when they see a lemon may be anger, fury, disappointment, guilt, shame. So we want to realize that there is a difference between feelings and emotions. And even though we often use them interchangeably, it is lovely to have an understanding so that we can properly address the question of the day. So, moving next, what is toxic positivity? Toxic positivity involves pretending to be upbeat and optimistic in order to appear constantly happy, positive, and perfectly okay. Unlike true, authentic positivity, toxic positivity rejects the underlying natural emotions that are normal, such as sadness, anger, and fear. The pressure to be positive and upbeat, that pressure stifles our legitimate feelings and emotions, and it impacts our well-being in the short term and the long term because it's okay. And in fact, it's necessary to not feel okay and upbeat and happy at times. Again, we want to make room for all of our emotional states, all of our feeling states. So, all of our emotions are important and valid, not just our upbeat ones. every emotion we have, sadness, anger, disgust, fear, joy, every single emotion has a message that's important to attend to. And without getting lost in this too deeply, it's important for us to realize that an emotion such as anger is important because it can tell us that somebody has crossed our boundaries, disrespected us, harmed us in some way. So each emotion has a similar message. It is there to give us very important information. And when we slow down to truly listen to our emotions and our feelings, we often find out that we do have a signal, a message waiting for us when we pause to reflect and take a time out to listen to what the emotion or the feeling is trying to tell us. Next, when we ignore our emotions in order to stay happy and upbeat and positive, we are pushing down these very important messages that are trying to tell us something that's really important for the psyche and often for the body. So remember, when we ignore our emotions just to stay positive, we're going to sacrifice something at the other end. When we strive to be chronically positive, we can also become really emotionally stunted. We can become reactive and mentally exhausted. The emotional stunting comes from if we try and stay with one emotion or two emotions, we don't get the chance to explore all of those other emotions that are available to us, all of those thousands of feelings that are out there waiting to be explored, understood, embraced. So that can keep us stunted, really shut down in one or two safe emotions or go to emotions, such as anger. A lot of people get stuck in anger, just like a lot of people can get stuck in positivity. We can also become reactive. Why do we become reactive? Anytime we compartmentalize emotions over and over and over again, they build up like, hot boiling water in a tea kettle, and they are going to come out. They will come out. They will come out through an illness, a physical illness. They will come out in a mental health issue. They will come out in a fit of rage, a temper tantrum, passive aggressive comments. They will come out. Trust me, emotions will come out some way. Maybe not the way you want them or other people want them to come out, but they will come out. So from my perspective, it's always wise just to look at them. Why have them come out sideways? Why not handle them responsibly? But more on that later. So when we also look at the mental toll of trying to stay positive, it takes so much work. It takes so much effort to stay upbeat and positive when we are not. Of course, there are times where we do have to, put on an okay face. We're picking up a child from school or going to work, and don't want to be showing or spewing or maybe our upset at a partner all over the place. So we want to contain that until we are in a safe space and can process it and manage it. So there are times where we do, want to put on, a nice veneer momentarily just to move through something. And then as soon as we get to a safe place, really process that emotion, that underlying emotion that wants to be paid attention to. So when we don't pay attention to our emotions, we can also suffer physically. We can have sleep issues. We can have health issues such as high blood pressure, because if we're constantly trying to stay positive, which is not a normal state, it's just not normal to be constantly positive, we are going to suffer in some way. And it's often physically. Migraine headaches, all sorts of things can pop up that are related to toxic positivity. Now, there are many times in life where it's very normal, definitely acceptable to feel sad, angry, frustrated, irritable, confused, blue. And we want to, again, make space for all of these emotions because they're all important. Again, they're all messengers. And when we repress feelings, when we repress them and push them down, or have an is what it is mindset, or a victim oriented mindset, or a really shut down holding it all in mindset, then we are accepting being less than who we really are, being less than that person who can notice their emotions appropriately, handle their emotions, use the messages as in their emotions to move forward. So remember, we don't want to get into a place of constantly repressing our emotions. There's always a toll. Now, neurobiologically, we are certainly meant to feel all of our emotions. If we cut off, for example, all of our other emotions except positivity, then think of it. If we have 5 core emotions and we're calling positivity joy, which it really isn't, but um, that's a podcast of its own, we're cutting off 80% of our other emotions if we're just allowing one to be present. We're, we're only staying with that 20% that feels like it's what we should be doing. And you can imagine how we're sacrificing then 80% of our potential to show up as a really amazing human being who is, emotionally competent, has good emotional intelligence. So we want to pay attention to that it's really unrealistic for us to imagine that we could or should cut off 80% of our emotional abilities. Now, the other important thing to notice when we're talking about emotions is that there are no good or bad emotions. And I'm sad to say, many experts out there call some of our emotions negative emotions. And this perplexes me because there are no negative emotions. Every emotion is positive, it is healthy, it has messages. Now, how we use our emotions may be negative or positive, healthy or unhealthy. But if we're using our emotions in healthy ways, in respectful ways, they're all terrific. They're all important. And so, 2 examples here to show you what I mean. There are people who call, even professionals, who call anger a negative emotion. Well, anger has messages. It's telling us somebody, again, that they might be um, disrespected, that they might have been hurt, that they might have had their boundaries crossed. And so, in that case, the anger is a good and healthy messenger. Now, how we use our anger, if we hit someone or threw something at them, that would not be healthy. But the anger itself is not a negative emotion. In the same way, we can see that staying positive all the time when we're not feeling positive or upbeat or joyful, that too, even though we would call positivity a good emotion, well, or a healthy emotion, it can be unhealthy. It can be toxic if we're not being genuine. So we really want to pay attention to that again, no emotion is good or bad. It's how we use those emotions that can be good, bad, healthy, unhealthy. It's a really important point. Now, we'll go through just a few pieces so that we can really look at the listener's question. And these bits help us look at the listener's question in a very in-depth way. The first is that toxic positivity is tied to perfectionism. Toxic positivity can show up as a pressure to be perfect, to be the perfect parent, to write the perfect book, to be the perfect cook, to be the perfect child, to be the perfect person at work. And oh my goodness, or to be perfectly happy. And when we look at that, what pressure that is. And we don't want to get into that space where we let these pressure of perfectionism, that we don't let it push us to be constantly perfectly positive because that's not human. It's not realistic. And it is downright destructive to our health, to our well being. It can lead to depression, chronic anxiety, a host of other mental and physical health issues. Next, be aware of social media and its links to toxic positivity. Social media can certainly amplify toxic positivity. It can amplify it through promoting the idea of the ideal life, the ideal person. And this makes people who are viewing these images feel constantly defective, chronically imperfect, lacking, depressed. And this speaks to, our the question of the day. It can really just make us feel like we're horrible human beings because even if on one level we know that the images are airbrushed and carefully curated, you know, blips of another person's life, it still makes us feel we're looking at this image, and images are powerful. We're looking at this image and we're saying, oh, I don't have that life. I don't have that body. I don't have that money. I don't have. So when we do that, it's really telling us what we don't have rather than allowing us to focus on what we do have. So another point is stressful situations can impact our push toward toxic positivity. So if we're in a situation where we feel like we should be perfect, an office party or, a big event such as a wedding or a first date, we often feel like we should be perfect, that we should be showing up absolutely without a flaw. And the good news is you can take that pressure off yourself. You can show up as you are, sure, a polished version of yourself. And, it's pretty or handsome as you want to make yourself for that event. But realize the best gift you can gift yourself and other people is showing up as the authentic you. So now we're on to the 11 tips for reducing toxic positivity in your life. The first is this, and it's an important one. Feed your mind with images and thoughts that are uplifting. I'm not talking about having to stay positive. It's simply nice to have a repository of positive images to go to. And these images and thoughts can be very simple things. They can be gratitudes. They can be blessings. I feel blessed with this. I feel blessed that I have a roof over my head. I feel blessed that I have, a way to get to work. I am grateful for my children. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for my partner. I'm grateful that I have good food. And they can also be, as I said, images. You can take snapshots. I love doing this in my mind, having snapshots of a beautiful hike I took or a beautiful adventure or time cuddling with my puppy or, a walk with my partner holding hands and kind of make them into snapshots in my head. And that it's just so helpful for creating authentic positivity so that I have go-to images and thoughts that if I'm feeling a little bit blue and I just want a little boost of natural uplifting, not toxic positivity, but just a natural little boost. I can turn to my own images, my own little glass 3/4 full of gratitudes and blessings. So it's important to know that you can have those as a way to remind yourself that you do have blessings in life, authentic ones, not false ones, but authentic ones. Point two, avoid engaging with images or thoughts that trigger anxiety, stress, or depression or comparison. So if you find yourself looking through a fashion magazine or watching a movie where everybody looks perfect, or going to a store that makes you feel, oh my God, it's all too perfect in here, simply keep away from it. It's really important for us to be aware that we can use our boundaries in this way, that we can say, hey, this doesn't feel good. I'm not going to engage with those images or those thoughts that are coming up, the thoughts that say, I am not good enough, I am less than, I am not, this, I am not that. So we want to be aware when those come up and realize I don't have to engage with you. You can come up, but I'm not entertaining you. And I often say, that when thoughts come up like that, it's okay to put out a no welcome ad. It's okay for that to come up and then say, you're not welcome here. Go ahead and leave. You're not welcome here. Nice boundary, door shut. And so that's tip two. Tip three, it's important to steer clear of any social media that leaves you feeling imperfect, depressed, anxious, less than, unworthy, not beautiful, not handsome, any of those, I am not good enough. Why? When we have the choice to engage or not engage in anything, such as social media, why engage in anything that makes you feel worse? And I have so many clients who have gone on social media diets by their own choice, and they come away saying, why didn't I do that sooner? I feel so much better when I delete that or delete this or delete that profile or simply, limit myself to 10 minutes a day and only go on pages that are feel good in nature. Why not? Life's too short to engage in anything that makes you feel less than. Okay, tip four. If you're around someone who exudes toxic positivity, remember that this is just a mask they're wearing. It's just covering up something they're often hurting inside. And remind yourself that you don't want to or need to compare yourself to these people, that they're on their own journey. You can't control their journey. Their journey is theirs. And you can limit if it makes you feel, low and blue afterward. Limit your time with them. You can send them loads of love and blessings, but you can also limit your time around people, things, experiences that make you feel like you're less than, that you're not good enough, or that your life is not good. Okay, point 5. Reduce and avoid contact with people who pull you down. They may seem like they're kind and upbeat and cheerful, but that they tend to pull you down with criticism, sarcasm, jabs. And so realize that there is also this part often of people who may appear to be nice, but when you go away from them, you're saying, what was that about? I feel awful now. So that's tip 5. Tip 6, don't compare yourself, your life, or your feelings to others. You don't know what's going on in other people's lives, whether in their home life, their work life, their trauma history or mental health history. You just don't know. And so again, really steer clear of comparing yourself to other people. In my first book, Joy from Fear, I talk about the voice of toxic comparison. And so we want to be really careful to not compare ourselves to other people. It's a dead end, and it, often takes us down rabbit holes. So why do it? Tip 7, notice and honor your feelings, all of them. Whether you're feeling irritable, blue, sad, um, imbalanced, anxious, whatever's coming up for you, allow yourself to feel it. Just allow yourself, make space for it by noticing, processing, and honoring your various feelings and the emotions that are underneath them. You're then able to be in a place where you accept them. You're not resisting them. You're just accepting them and allowing them to be transitory, knowing they're not going to stay forever. We don't want to hold on to any emotions. And so just letting them move through you. And there are times when journaling, talking, getting support from others will actually help you notice your feelings, move through your feelings, accept your feelings, process your feelings. And again, we don't want to label any of our feelings bad or negative. They're all good, especially when we use them to learn more about what's going on in our inner world. Our emotions, our feelings have so much to teach us. Embrace the truth that every feeling has a purpose, and we want to learn to honor the messages within the feelings, not just the so-called positive ones. Feelings such as anxiety and sadness and, melancholy, they let us know that something's going on. They often let us know that we need to take an action, whether that action is to sleep, rest, exercise, meditate, or reach out for support. And in some cases, the message that an emotion is giving us is to just be. For example, if you're feeling kind of melancholy, it's okay to just be. It's okay to just sit down somewhere outside or on your bed, in a bus stop and just be. Let the melancholy be. And if you feel like exploring why you're feeling melancholy, moving around inside of you, that's okay too. And sometimes you don't even really need to think about it. You can just be with it. So this helps us not ignore or compartmentalize our feelings when we just allow ourselves to really acknowledge that our feelings have a purpose, our emotions have a purpose. Next tip, emote authentically and responsibly. Remember, it's absolutely okay not to feel positive at times. Give yourself permission to cry, to get upset, to let off steam in healthy ways. We want to remember that just like being angry in toxic ways, where we're throwing something at someone or unleashing, a firestorm of horrible words, we don't want to do that. And we also, at the other end, don't want to be caught up into sort of a vice of toxic positivity. We want to be able to really allow ourselves to emote, to feel our emotions, to talk about our emotions when and if we're ready, or there's somebody we want to share them with in ways that are healthy. For example, if you're feeling angry, instead of, yelling at your partner, you would process your emotions and then say to your partner, hey, I feel very angry at you right now because of this. And in the future, I would really like you to do this so that I wouldn't feel angry at you. It would really help me and our relationship. And when we work in ways like that, know our emotions, state our emotions, state our needs. Then we're using our emotions in healthy ways. Tip 10, let feelings go. When you're done with them, instead of getting stuck with them, allow yourself to let them go. And allow yourself sometimes to imagine, if it's helpful, that you're just sitting somewhere and you're done with the emotion. Maybe you're feeling sad or irritable and you've tended to the underlying issue and you're ready to release it. Imagine putting maybe that frustration or anger in a balloon and watching it float off. And that doesn't mean it won't come back. It means it may come back one time, 100 times, 1,000 times. And each time, if you feel done with it, after you process it, try to find the messages, then you can let it go. So practices like that can be so helpful and so healing. 11, tip 11, let go of perfectionism. No one has a perfect life. It's an impossibility. So you can strive to be authentic and to be the very best version of yourself day by day, one step at a time. And this means that, yeah, sure, there may be times where you don't perfectly manage your emotions, where your feelings may get the best of you. And that too is normal. And all that you can do in those kind of situations is learn from the episode, learn what didn't feel right to you, and then if you need, if there was another person involved, apologize, learn the lesson, and do it a little bit better the next time around. And that all of that together, going back to the listener, the question that was brought up, all of this works together to help you realize that the best chance you have of fighting toxic positivity is to make friends with all of your emotions, to work through this 11-step process whenever you can, and to realize that all of your emotions are normal, healthy, important. And again, it's how we use our emotions that can be healthy or unhealthy, positive or negative. And again, for our listener, what can she do? She can follow this 11-step process as best she's able, and realize that by using steps like this, by really embracing all of the emotions, that we then become a role model, not just for, we're modeling for ourselves, but we're also modeling for friends and family, that it is okay, that it is wise, that it is good to know our emotions, to stand in the truth of our emotions, and to use our emotions in wise, responsible ways. And in this way, we can let go of toxic positivity and enjoy the often topsy-turvy roller coaster of life that allows us to sometimes feel a wide range of emotions, even in the course of one day.
Thanks so much for sharing your time with me today. Remember, you have the power to transform your life and love fearlessly, if imperfectly, and it's my privilege to help you along the way. You can find more life-changing content, including my books and other podcast episodes, at drcarlamanly.com. Feel free to submit your own confidential questions through my website. I'll do my very best to include your issue on a future episode. If you found this podcast helpful, please subscribe and leave a review. Until we connect again, this is Dr. Carla Manly wishing you oceans of blessings and love. Please note, this podcast is psychoeducational in nature and is not intended to replace formal mental health support. Please contact your healthcare provider or emergency hotline if you need psychiatric care. And as always, please take good care of your amazing, wonderful self.